Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Flame Emperor episode number 52 based on novel. So let's start. Damn boy! Xiao Yan also shouted angrily, and while busy dealing with the terrifying flames in his body, he had to use his strength to deal with Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan's huge soul power has long known that Xiao Yan is arrogant, and it is also calculated that when the strange fire enters the body, it will have a certain impact on Xiao Yan, but he did not expect that Xiao Yan still underestimated these 23 strange fires. The power of... However, Xiao Yan didn't have time to be overjoyed. The Honghua ancient ruler in his hand attacked Xiao Yan with even greater flame power. Although the previous attack had achieved some remarkable results, Xiao Yan did not dare to underestimate the enemy. After all, this Xiao Yan had the strength of the late 4-star Do Emperor. Although he had now broken through to the early 4-star Do Emperor, he could not take it lightly. What's more, this Xiao Yan is only the 11th ranked powerhouse, and there are 9 powerhouses ahead of him, so it is undoubtedly the most stupid to reveal too much power at this time, so Xiao Yan is also preparing to surprise him. Move to win. After all, you can hide your strength in the final decisive battle to be unexpected. Above the huge Yihuahang ancient ruler, colorful flames formed a huge fire dragon around the Yihuahang ancient ruler, and roared away at Xiao Yan with its ferocious mouth open. Shuanglong takes water! Xiao Yan also shouted loudly, and then the huge fighting energy gathered on the 2 giant axes, facing Xiao Yan's attack head-on. Double dragons take water is a trick that gathers the power in the body on the giant axe to form 2 forces with completely different properties, and then uses the 2 explosive forces with completely different properties to suppress the opponent. Boom boom boom. Xiao Yan's eternal fire dragon's ferocious giant mouth and Xiao Yan's round giant axe collided fiercely, sending out a terrifying flame storm. The next moment, the attack was over, and the 2 of them flew out behind them in unison. The most embarrassing thing is to count Xiao Yan. Although he is a powerhouse in the late stage of the 4-star Do D, but when he first fought, the flames of 23 colors passed from Xiao Yan's Yihuahang ancient ruler. It caused a lot of obstruction to his body, so that Xiao Yan did not dare to go all out to deal with Xiao Yan. After all, the power of these 23 colors should not be underestimated. 2. Xiao Yan took dozens of steps back to stabilize his body, and then the double giant axe was directly inserted into the ground. At this time, his breath soared, obviously preparing to launch a powerful attack. On the other side, Xiao Yan also took a few steps back to stabilize his figure, and the palm of his hand holding the eternal Firehang ancient ruler couldn't help but feel a slight tremor, which was obviously the aftermath of the fight with Xiao Yan just now. This Xiao Yan really deserves to be a powerhouse in the late stage of the 4-star Do D. Even if he is penetrated by my strange fire, he can still use such terrifying power to fight back. Xiao Yan also muttered to himself, then stared at Xiao Yan. On his body, watching the 23 color flames gradually condense together, a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. It's almost. After speaking, the aura all over his body soared, and he was raised to the level of the early stage of the 4-star Do Emperor. The eternal ruler in his hand is also surrounded by milky white flames. Obviously a terrifying offensive is brewing. What is Xiao Yan laughing at? Xiao Yan was also extremely puzzled, and then he didn't care why Xiao Yan laughed, and gradually compressed the flames that were running around in his body to one place, trying to catch them all in one go. At this time, Xiao Yan's body was extremely spectacular. Flames of various colors continued to emerge from his arms, chest, and thighs. If you counted them carefully, you would find that there were as many as 23 colors. Xiao Yan also intends to condense and compress all these flames into one place and then wipe out the others. After all, these flames are violent by nature, and there is no room for sand in their eyes. Compressed in the same place, the resistance between the flames is also easy for Xiao Yan to wipe out. Many beads of sweat appeared on Xiao Yan's forehead. Obviously, it was extremely difficult and laborious to compress these flames to one place, but fortunately they succeeded. At this time, Xiao Yan's body has returned to normal skin color, only the thighs have some gorgeous colors. The next step is to catch all the flames. The power of these flames is not bad, but it's a pity that they met me. Xiao Yan murmured, and when he was about to use his strength to destroy the flames in his body, Xiao Yan moved. At the moment when Xiao Yan was performing the exercises, Xiao Yan was not idle either. He first closed his eyes and rested his mind, mobilizing his arrogance to gather on the ancient ruler of eternal fire, and then the next moment, he suddenly opened his eyes and faced the place where Xiao Yan was. Location omitted. The eternal fire eternal ruler in his hand not only had a dazzling light at this time, but also had an extremely huge aura of destruction. The first level of the 7-level breaking sky ruler. Silence. The sound of coercion came, and then 100 jong-sized flame energy slashed down towards Xiao Yan viciously. Lies Han. Seeing this, Xiao Yan also knew that this was Xiao Yan's plan. After all, this was the infernal corpse forest in the trials, and countless people were jealous of the points in their hands. The longer the battle, the less safe it would be. However, although Xiao Yan's attack was extremely tyrannical, it was a bit of a fuss for Xiao Yan in the late stage of the 4-star Do Di. After all, Xiao Yan also found that Xiao Yan's body was gradually weakening, and the only one who won this battle was himself. I saw Xiao Yan separate a force to compress the 23 kinds of flames in his body, and then suddenly picked up the giant axe inserted into the ground with both hands. Tilda put his hands together, and immediately the two giant axes merged into one. The energy shadow of a huge axe with a size of 100 meters also met Xiao Yan's attack viciously. Boom boom boom. The clash of two terrifying forces in the sky immediately attracted the attention of countless low-level monsters and ghosts in the surrounding mountains and forests, and then they also flew away as if fleeing for their lives, because the place where the two attacked, a giant tornado of thousands of meters, was also slowly forming. And that Xiao Yan and Xiao Yan were also in a stalemate one by one in the giant tornado. Damn boy, today will be your Memorial Day next year. Go to hell. Xiao Yan also said with a grim smile, and then an even larger force came from within the body, and then passed through the giant axe in his hand and attacked Xiao Yan. At this time, Xiao Yan spent nearly 1/2 of his vindictive energy because of the 7th layer breaking sky ruler just now, so when he saw that Xiao Yan thought he had such terrifying power, he couldn't help but frown slightly. Just as Xiao Yan's attack was about to touch Xiao Yan laughed loudly and said, "It's almost time. The Lotus of Annihilation, if it doesn't explode at this time, when will it be?" As Xiao Yan's laughter fell, a terrifying energy exploded instantly at the place where the 23 kinds of flames that were compressed to the naked eye were compressed by Xiao Yan's thigh. Xiao Yan, who had won the lottery in his hand, felt a slight chill down his spine when he heard the words, and a smell of death permeated his heart. Just when Xiao Yan was triumphantly preparing to strike Xiao Yan to death with Xiao Yan's shout, Xiao Yan also noticed that the 23 kinds of flames that had been compressed in one place in his thigh were suddenly fused together. And then an extremely terrifying energy also made Xiao Yan too late to prepare, and it exploded. Xiao Yan didn't have time to think too much about why these 23 extremely violent flame powers could offset this resistance in an instant, and immediately mobilized all the fighting chi against his thighs, and such terrifying power erupted and circled around. It is not enough to deal with the strength of the late 4-star Do Di of Yixuni. Bang bang bang. The terrifying explosion also exploded in an instant, and then the place where Xiao Yan was also shrouded in layers of smoke, and the scorching temperature in the smoke also caused both the Yueru and Mu Feng to change color slightly. Vulgar. Go to ***** with resentment. Xiao Yan also snorted coldly, and then the huge soul force formed a huge invisible attack to face Xiao Yan. Although the power of the fusion of the 23 types of flames cannot be underestimated, this Xiao Yan is a late-stage 4-star Do Di. Xiao Yan had to be careful, and then a terrifying attack was instantly directed at the center of the explosion. Xiao Yan, who was struggling to resist the power of the flames, went away. Huang Quan Tianwu. A terrifying attack also came to Xiao Yan in an instant, and then hit Xiao Yan's soul heavily. Although Xiao Yan was surrounded by a lot of smoke at the center of the explosion, this did not affect Xiao Yan's attack at all. After all, Xiao Yan, with his powerful soul power, already knew the exact location of Xiao Yan in the smoke, so he also accurately hit Xiao Yan. At the center of the flame explosion, Xiao Yan was concentrating on resisting the terrifying force above his thigh. Since it was the force that exploded from inside his thigh, Xiao Yan had a lot of possibilities to save his leg with his powerful strength. It is also impossible to care about Xiao Yan. At this moment, an invisible attack silently attacked the depths of Xiao Yan's soul, and then Xiao Yan's body stagnated for a moment, as if he had suffered heavy damage. The moment Xiao Yan paused, the terrifying flame energy also instantly destroyed Xiao Yan's body with an unstoppable force. When Xiao Yan came back to his senses, he roared. Boom boom boom. The explosion lasted for a few quarters of an hour and then slowly disappeared, revealing a vague figure. Yueru and Mu Feng also felt a touch of familiarity from the vague figure. It was Xiao Yan. But the latter is quite embarrassed now. There are wounds of different degrees all over the body, and blood is slowly flowing out, and then the most obvious purpose is the blood on the hands. Obviously, it is quite difficult to deal with the terrifying flame. Slowly looking down from Xiao Yan, he was surprised to find that Xiao Yan was actually standing on one foot on his left. Taking a closer look, he suddenly found that Xiao Yan's other right foot was gone. It's just that drop by drop of blood keeps dripping from the wound. The breath all over the body is also sluggish. Where is the aura of the powerhouse in the later stage of the 4-star Do Emperor? The terrifying explosion on the thigh was accompanied by the flames everywhere, and I saw that Xiao Yan was also staring at Xiao Yan with a ferocious expression, and muttered to himself as if roaring out, "Little bastard, today's labor and capital will not kill you, I promise Xiao Yan." Not human? Ha ha, then it depends on whether you have this ability. Xiao Yan also snorted coldly. Some medicinal pills appeared in his hand, and then he devoured them directly into his stomach and then looked carefully. Huni. The previous 23 different flame powers were obviously deliberately done by Xiao Yan himself. On the one hand, they put pressure on Xiao Yan, and on the other hand, they also laid the groundwork for the fusion and explosion in Xiao Yan. These are not to say that Xiao Yan is afraid of this Xiao Yan, because Xiao Yan also noticed that some people stronger than this Xiao Yan are coming towards them, the words of those people. It is only possible that it is a strong player in the points-grabbing competition ranked in front of Xiao Yan, so it is not good to expose too many trump cards, so this is the reason for Xiao Yan's play. But what Xiao Yan didn't expect was that Xiao Yan didn't get rid of these flames in the first place. At first, Xiao Yan's purpose was just to distract Xiao Yan. How could he think that Xiao Yan actually wanted to condense and compress these flames into together, and then refining and swallowing become your own power? This is really a daring artist. However, Xiao Yan still miscalculated. In fact, the violent power between the 23 kinds of flames disappeared without a trace in Xiao Yan's body for the first time. Huge destructive power. Then, with Xiao Yan's huge strength in the late stage of the 4-star Do D, the explosive power of these 23 flame fusions is not an unsolvable problem, but when Xiao Yan was concentrating on dealing with the destructive power of flames, Huangquan Qianwu also attacked, and the short-term stagnation cost Xiao Yan's life. However, this Xiao Yan is also a decisive person who is decisive when he is decisive. When Huangquan's anger caused the insufficient supply of vindictive energy in his body and stagnated for a moment, the destructive power of the flame had spread to the entire right leg, and it was immediately a huge axe. Cut off his right leg directly. Stop the spread of this destructive power. This is the current scene. I have to say that Xiao Yan also admires this decisive force very much, because it will hurt his own origin. If there is no way, he would not be willing to do this. However, what Xiao Yan did was the most correct approach, because it contained the fusion power of 23 terrifying flames, and the power of destruction that exploded was extremely terrifying. If Xiao Yan did not cut off his right leg decisively, then once the power of destruction spreads to the whole body, so with the power of the flame, there is no need to attack at all, and this Xiao Yan can be directly consumed to death. After thinking for a while, Xiao Yan's vindictive energy also recovered, and then he slowly walked towards Xiao Yan. At this time, because Xiao Yan cut off his right leg, although it prevented the spread of the power of destruction, it also hurt the source, and his strength actually dropped to the middle stage of the 4-star fighting emperor. But even if it wasn't like this, Xiao Yan still had the confidence to kill this Xiao Yan. After all, Xiao Yan's strength was greatly reduced after the explosion of flames. At this time, he was already at the end of the game. It seems that I still underestimate your strength. The strength of the peak of the 3-star Do D has swallowed the points of the remaining ash, and there are indeed 2 scumbags. Xiao Yan said weakly. The hideous one just now had already disappeared without a shadow. Traces, some are just extremely calm now. However, you underestimate my Xiao Yan too. In the late stage of the 4-star Do D, Shuni, the cracking mountain axe, is the 11th. I can't lose to a kid in the early stage of the 4-star Do D. Impossible. The crack mountain family does not tolerate waste. Xiao Yan roared as if crazy, and then a terrifying wave spread out. No, run! Xiao Yan also shouted loudly, then before he had time to think about it, he grabbed Mu Feng and Yueru with his left and right hands, and quickly fled from here. Xiao Yan dragged his extremely embarrassed body, laughing wildly. The giant axe in his hand also exploded, and a terrifying storm that was enough to destroy the powerhouses in the late stage of the 4-star Do D also swept the 4 directions. This volatility? It's Xiao Yan? I didn't expect that Xiao Yan could force Xiao Yan to display such an offensive. Qiao Huanyao also looked at the place where the explosion occurred, and then said softly. Brother Qiao, what did Xiao Yan cast? Said a young man beside Qiao Huanyao. Xiao Yan is showing his housekeeping skills. The power of the origin of the axe of splitting mountains. The giant axe used by Xiao Yan is called the Split Mountain Axe. It can be divided into 2 parts when attacking, but the real power lies in the Split Mountain Axe. Xiao Yan is the proud son of the Split Mountain family. Axe, its status in the family is definitely not low. It is said that this mountain-splitting axe is the treasure of the town clan in their Split Mountain family. Also, although the mountain-splitting axe is only listed among the spiritual tools, its power is no trivial matter. The mountain-splitting axe can continuously devour the blood power of the enemy, so as to absorb and transform it into an extremely terrifying force stored in the mountain-splitting axe. Once Xiao Yan is defeated, this terrifying power will be released. This force is quite difficult even for me to deal with. Qiao Huanyao said solemnly. That Xiao Yan, who is at the peak of the 3-star Do D, can force Xiao Yan to use this last resort, which is enough to show how unusual this kid is. That no matter how he jumps, he's always just a clown. In the face of a strong man like you, Brother Qiao, it's only the end of the game. The people around Qiao Huanyao also said. Hopefully. Qiao Huanyao also smiled slightly, and then regardless of the words of the people around him, his eyes went straight into the explosion site. According to Qiao Huanyao's perception, Xiao Yan was already at the end of his force at this time, but for some reason, some faint breaths were escaping from the center of the explosion. After Xiao Yan exerted the power in the mountain-splitting axe, the monstrous explosion burst out in an instant. Compared with the explosion produced by the fusion of the 23 kinds of flames, it was not weak at all. As Xiao Yan finished his last offensive, his vindictive energy also fell into a state of exhaustion, terrifying fluctuations spread, and then the token on his body was instantly shattered, and Xiao Yan's body also disappeared in the corpse forest. The points on his token also instantly turned into a ray of light that was invisible to the naked eye and came to Xiao Yan's token. At this time, Xiao Yan also waved his hand, and then these points were turned into Yueru and Mu Feng. The points and rankings of the two are also skyrocketing. At this time, Xiao Yan, who was ranked 11th, also officially announced his departure from the competition. Xiao Yan also discovered the horror of this power when Xiao Yan's mountain-splitting axe had just used the terrifying source power, and then pulled Yueru and Mu Feng away from the scene without looking back. With his huge and outstanding soul power, Xiao Yan is also very sensitive to danger. Then Xiao Yan discovered this scene when Xiao Yan was just laughing wildly. It's dangerous. Mu Feng was also at the scene of escaping, and then looked at the shocking explosive force and said, there was some shock in his voice. On the one hand, the shock is that you are already at the end of a strong arrow, but you can still burst out so terrifying. The power of the 11th is indeed well deserved. On the other hand, this Xiao Yan escaped with them before the explosion started. Xiao Yan, these points are too important and you have won this Xiao Yan from beginning to end. We are just helpers. We can't stand such a big gift. You should take it back. Yueru said softly, and then picked up her jade hand. Token, actually want to assign the points on the token to Xiao Yan. Yes, you can take it back. Mu Feng also smiled quietly, and then did the same thing as Yueru. No need, just accept it. If you didn't protect me and let me break through the 4-star Do Di, these points would not have been so easy to get you. Xiao Yan waved his hand and refused. That's good, there is still some time anyway, you have the final say on where to go, and you will get all the points in the future. Mu Feng also laughed loudly. A conspicuous light word also appeared in front of everyone. At this time, Yueru's points have reached 18,000, and her ranking has been raised to 44, while Mu Feng's has reached 19,000, and her ranking has been raised to 33. Where are we going next? Yu bit her lip slightly, and apparently discovered a few terrifying forces, all of which were heading towards their previous battlefield at the same time. Why don't we go to the 3rd floor of the Infernal Corpse Forest to avoid the limelight for a while? There are still 15 days before the end. Xiao Yan also moved his eyes slightly, and then looked at the distant sky. Xiao Yan also discovered that those rather terrifying forces were coming towards their previous positions. Although these people were stronger than Xu Ni, Xiao Yan was not afraid of them, but now before the finals, there is no need to fight to the death. The 3rd floor. Although it's dangerous, it's a good place. They wouldn't have thought of it. Mu Feng said with a grin. At this time, Mu Feng could be regarded as a friend of Xiao Yang, so he simply sang with Xiao Yang. It's not too late, let's go now, there are almost quite powerful auras coming here, it's too late to have a conflict with them. Xiao Yang also saw that the two had no objection, and said, Go? The three of them looked at each other one after another, their speed increased to the extreme, and they headed towards the 3rd floor of the Infernal Corpse Forest. Outside the Yin Corpse Forest, inside a pavilion. Ha ha ha, this kid didn't disappoint me. Wu Jiang also laughed. This kid is beyond my expectations. Hudu also said depressedly. Ha ha ha, I told you a long time ago that the vision must be long-term. Wu Jiang continued. Okay, I know, you bothered. Hudu also rolled his eyes and said. Why did Mu Yingying go to the 3rd floor? Keep an eye on it. If something happens, we will take action directly. This is a good seedling. Wu Jiang also said vigilantly. This Mu Yingying's origin is also quite mysterious, do you want to investigate it? Hudu saw with a roll of white paper, and found that the information about Mu Yingying on it was also pitiful. Don't use it for the time being, lest there will be more troubles for no reason. Yeah. After the two of them finished speaking, they were looking at the many crystal **** in front of them. After all, to prevent these people from having an accident, it's better to do it yourself. Damn. Shuni's points were also taken away by them. Looking at the light characters of Yueru and Mu Feng in the sky to improve their ranking and points, Chiu Huanyao also shouted angrily. They have gone through such a big battle, and they must have just won Xu Ni by luck. Their bodies are also extremely burdened, and their fighting spirit is running out. They should not go far yet, let's chase, said the figure beside Chiu Huanyao. Waste. Don't you know by this time? He Xiao Yang was a fluke once, can it be luck the second time? You idiots. Chiu Huanyao said angrily, how could his father send so many wastes to follow him? I wonder who is angry here, it turns out to be Chiu Huanyao. You're still the same, you like to get angry like this. A kind voice also appeared. Chiu Huanyao looked up, and a fat man with a rather bloated figure also appeared in front of several people. Damn it! It's actually Luo Guang. Chiu Hua's expression became solemn. How is it possible? It's actually the 3rd ranked, King Kong is not bad Luo Guangpang. Chiu Huanyao's entourage was also surprised. There are a lot of things to do after the school starts, classes, club affairs, and I have been studying for a driver's license for a long time, so the update is a little slow. When I am almost free, I will work hard to break out. After a long time, I will update it twice a day. King Kong is not bad, Luo Guangpang, what are you doing? Xiao Huanyao said solemnly. In front of this King Kong is not bad. Luo Guangpeng's title has spread far and wide in this trial. The third place in the points plundering competition, Luo Guang, is known to have the title of King Kong is not bad Luo Guangfa. Even if Xiao Huanyao is very difficult to deal with this Luo Guang, the title of this Luo Guang should not be called for nothing. Although I don't know what kind of exercises Luo Guang is practicing, but when he fights, his body is covered with iron walls. Even Xiao Huanyao, who is as strong as the late 4-star Do Emperor, looks ugly. It should be that Luo Guang's defensive power is amazing, even he is helpless. I'm not looking for you, I'm just looking for this kid named Xiao Yan. The fat man named Luo Guang also said with a smile. Xiao Huanyao was relieved when he heard the words, and then he said, which Xiao Yang seems to have found that we have already escaped from here. Since this is the case, let's see you in the finals. In the last 15 days, I don't believe he won't come out. It's just that Xiao Huabird didn't seem to notice that the location where Luo Guang disappeared was the entrance to the second floor of the Yin Corpse Forest. Master, what should we do now? Xiao Huanyao's entourage asked. Chase, I want to see how powerful this Xiao Yang is. After Xiao Huanyao finished speaking, he was the first to head towards the place where Xiao Yang escaped. Xiao Yang and the other three kept leaving the corpse forest at a high speed. After all, Luo Guang and Xiao Huanyao were much stronger than Xu Ni. Now that they had enough points, it was time to avoid the limelight and wait until the end. The finals are coming out. The three came to a dark place, and saw a dark passage also appearing in front of the three. Careful! The huge two characters are placed in a prominent position. This? Mu Feng also stared at the two prominent words directly above the dark passage, and then thought for a moment. It's all right. Xiao Yang put a hand on Mu Feng's shoulder as he spoke, and then an extremely gentle flame energy spread throughout Mu Feng's body, making Mu Feng feel indescribably comfortable. Go? Then Xiao Yang and the three looked at each other and disappeared on the second floor of the Infernal Corpse Forest, heading towards the third floor of the Infernal Corpse Forest. Outside the Corpse Forest. Report. Someone has entered the third floor of the Infernal Corpse Forest. A young man said respectfully to Wu Jiang. Who is that? Wu Jiang also asked softly. It's a man with a heavy ruler on his back, with a man and a woman beside him, the young man said. Understood, let's go, you have done a good job, make persistent efforts. Wu Jiang also said. Yes. The encouraged young man also seemed to have been beaten with blood, and disappeared into the corpse forest to observe the movements of the participants. The ghost chi here is so heavy. As soon as he left the dark passage, a rush of ghost chi came directly to his face, and then Mu Feng said with a solemn expression. As a person who has dealt with ghosts all year round, Mu Feng is familiar with ghosts, so the more dignified the breath represents, the stronger the ghosts are. Mu Feng, what's the matter with you? You also noticed that Mu Feng was using some strange handprints, and then said. It's all right, I'll put a spell on you, which can greatly reduce the erosion of these ghosts. Mu Feng also began to mutter when he finished speaking. After reciting the incantation in his mouth, he gestured some strange movements in his hand. At the same time, 3 grey rays of light flew towards Xiao Yang, Yueru, and Mu Feng. As soon as the grey light touched the body, it turned into an invisible force, constantly blocking the erosion of ghost energy. This power is so strange. Xiao Yang couldn't help but praise. Although Xiao Yang possessed a huge flame protection body, it did not mean that Yueru and the others possessed it. On the third floor of the Infernal Corpse Forest, where the concentration of ghost chi had increased significantly, they clearly felt that the use of vindictive chi had been suppressed to varying degrees. However, under the protection of Mu Feng's grey light, this strange suppression also disappeared without a trace. Obviously, Mu Feng has a good way of dealing with this ghost. Everyone, be careful, the ghosts on the third floor of the corpse forest are also extremely powerful. Mu Feng also said coldly. The 3 looked at each other and moved forward slowly. Monster, are you sure it's here? Yu Quan Ghost also stared at a well in front of him, looked down deeply and asked in doubt. Although it is known that the other half of the twin ghost emperor is sealed in the third floor of the corpse forest, the exact location is not quite sure. That's right, it's here according to my sensibility. Let's go down. The ghost spirit also said. After he finished speaking, he jumped into the well without waiting for the people outside to agree. Let's go too, Hongye said, and then followed in. Although Hongye is reluctant in every possible way, but for a certain person, he still has to be a tiger. Go? After Yuquan finished speaking, it turned into a beam of light and streaks into the well. The ghost, the ghost of the secluded spring, and the red leaf, the master of the Red Mountain and Red Valley, the three strong men also entered a well, leaving a dry Red Valley person and ghosts waiting on the well. It's interesting now. A familiar figure also said from outside the well. If you look closely, you will find that the figure talking is actually Mueller. Let's go, let me meet the powerhouses of the so-called point-grabbing competition. Mueller also smiled strangely, and his aura was the same as that of a ghost. Humph. Impossible, the two adults, Yumai and Yuquan, have gone down. It's not your decision here. A figure with a terrifying ghostly aura also stood up and said. You still can't do it, the two adults are not here, naturally I have the final say here. Mueller also said angrily, obviously the ghost who caused trouble was obviously dissatisfied with Mueller. That's right, even a mere 4-star Do Emperor wants to lead us, and he doesn't spit and look in the mirror. The people from Honggu also stepped forward. Although they don't know why their Valley Master brought them here, but they have absolute trust in the Valley Master, so they didn't ask any more questions, but it is obvious that these people in Red Valley do not know that the ghosts in the ghost world are in front of them, otherwise now fight early. The strength of the contestants in the other people's point plundering competition is also extremely strong. If you want them to be the scapegoats, then this Muller is looking for the wrong person. Damn, you're actually doing it behind my back, and I'll have a chance to see you in the future if I don't kill you. Mueller also said in his heart with anger, and then secretly wrote down a few people who were in his early years, and he must give them some color afterward. Look. After speaking, he calmed down, and then a trace of ghostly energy continued to emerge from the well, and then calmed down again. Long Yi is the biggest treasure in the entire Infernal Corpse Forest that you mentioned is on the 3rd floor of the Infernal Corpse Forest. Xiao Yan also slowly communicated with the ruler above, the ancient ruler of eternal fire. Since the fire of the root of Long Yi, the spirit of the ruler of the eternal fire, was swallowed up by Xiao Yang, Long Yi also knew that if he wanted to see the sun again in the future, then he had to rely on Xiao Yang. After all, he is now all betting on Xiao Yang. The power of the source was swallowed up, and the dragon soul lost the chance to escape, so he could only stay within the ancient ruler of the different fire. That's right. I have lived in this corpse forest for thousands of years, but I am familiar with it. There is one of the biggest treasures in the corpse forest, and it exists on the 3rd floor of the corpse forest, and I can guarantee that this treasure cannot even be touched by the overlord of the corpse forest, Inu Sirius. Long Yi also said proudly. Don't betray you, where is it? Xiao Yang also said inexplicably. Follow me. After Long Yi finished speaking, an extremely small force also overflowed along the ancient ruler of the eternal fire, and then went to a place. Go this way. Xiao Yang also followed quickly and said to the two behind him. Let's go away first, it's not good to attract others' attention here. Yuquan and Hongye's voices came from the well in the same way, and they obviously heard the quarrel outside. Yes? A group of people outside the well also disappeared without a trace, leaving only Mueller alone. Damn soul race, what the asterisk are you doing? Mueller said in a mood, apparently even he didn't know why he came to the 3rd floor of this terrifying infernal forest. The thinking was fruitless, and Mueller's figure was also hidden. Before we knew it, a day had passed, but Xiao Yang and the others also noticed that the ghost energy around them had clearly grown stronger. We have entered the core area of the 3rd floor of the Infernal Corpse Forest, everyone be careful. Xiao Yang also looked around vigilantly and said. Yuiru. Mufeng. After patrolling around, Xiao Yang also looked behind him and found that the two had disappeared. Hey, don't worry, these are just some protection techniques on the third floor of the infernal corpse forest, they are just some tricks. It will disperse in a while. And Yueru and Mufeng are also in it, but there is no danger. They will recover after passing through here. Long Yi, who was on the ancient ruler of Yihuahang, also noticed Xiao Yan's change, and then went out. Sound. There are 2 huge breaths on the third floor of this corpse forest. The Golden Dragon King muttered in Xiao Yan's body, but it was fleeting, and it was quiet again, apparently slowly refining the secret realm. Dragon Qi, thereby restoring some of his strength. Long Yi, why did we go to the east? Xiao Yan also found that the infernal corpse forest was only on the east and west sides, which was quite strange. The treasure I'm talking about exists in the easternmost part. As for the west part, it is the overlord of the infernal corpse forest, where the Silver Moon Heavenly Wolf is located. This is still the dividing line between the things on the third floor of the infernal corpse forest. I hope I won't meet him, Long Yi said weakly. Hearing this, Xiao Yang stopped at a small hole around him. After all, the ghost energy around him was weak and there was almost no trace of ghosts. According to Long Yi, the passage here contains passages which used to be the place where the Yinyu Sirius lived, but now the Yinyu Sirius has already occupied the west, so this cave is also abandoned. Compared with other places full of ghosts, this place is extraordinarily strange. Xiao Yang walked in slowly, while carefully observing the place. This is a small cave, only a few feet, and there is nothing in it, but the strange thing is that this cave is actually bright, which is very strange. Xiao Yan probed carefully for a long time, but he didn't understand why there was light here. It was clearly the bottom of the cave, so it should be impossible for moonlight to appear. Suddenly Xiao Yang's body turned around, and the breath all over his body also increased to the limit, and then he snorted coldly, "Who is it? Come out." At the same time, I saw the milky white flame on Xiao Yang's body flourishing, and a terrifying flame instantly illuminated the entire cave. At the same time, Xiao Yang was also holding the ancient ruler of Yihuahang tightly in his hand, because he felt an extremely terrifying force from the moment he entered the cave. On the ancient ruler of Yihuahang, Long Yi also looked around vigilantly, and then a huge force on the ancient ruler of Yihuahang was slowly rotating, a layer of crimson light, from the ancient ruler of Yihuahang. The top fell off, and Xiao Yang was firmly protected inside. If you look closely, there is no one. But a voice came from the void in the cave. "A rare young man, you have quite a few secrets in your body, but I didn't expect you to dare to come here. It's very rare. Do you know where this place is?" When Xiao Yan heard the words, he was also shocked. This voice contained extremely terrifying power, and then the huge soul power dispersed in an instant, constantly changing positions and exploring everything around him. Xiao Yang also said, "Who are you? Why don't you show up? You can be sneaky and have the demeanor of a strong man. And where is this place? Isn't this the third floor of the infernal corpse forest? Why can't I come?" In the void, there was a sudden laugh in the voice. "Young man, I don't have any malicious intentions, I'm just bored and lonely here. I want to find someone to chat with. Would you like to chat with me? As for this place, it is the 2 most mysterious places in the corpse forest. This infernal corpse forest is divided into 3 floors. Most people don't know the entrance to the 3rd floor, so they can't enter. As for the cave where you are now, there are extremely tyrannical restrictions and isolation. People who don't know it can't find that restriction, and they can't get in at all. So you can come in. I'm a little weird tilde. If you're willing to chat with me, I'll show up to see you. If you don't, just leave. It's just so many years, it's really lonely." At this time, Xiao Yang's soul force had already captured the position of the voice, but this result surprised Xiao Yang. Because what he found out was that the sound was not in this space, but in another space, and his voice was just transmitted in a special way. The strength of this person is very rare. This is something Xiao Yang has never encountered before. Xiao Yang also said softly, "Since you are lonely, please come out. I also have a lot of things that I don't understand, and I want to ask you for advice. As long as you are not malicious, I will not take the initiative to attack others." The voice laughed and said, "All right, it's rare that after so many years, there will be human beings here. It can be considered a fate. I will see you. I hope nothing unpleasant will happen between us, and I hope my appearance won't scare you. As soon as these words came out, Xiao Yan was about to speak when he suddenly felt the aura around the cave suddenly fluctuate. A flashing crack appeared out of nowhere in the cave, and a figure shining with silver light came out of the crack in an instant, quietly appeared a few feet away from Xiao Yan, and looked at Xiao Yan with a smile. Xiao Yan was startled. Such an instant transfer, appearing here out of thin air from another dimension, without profound strength, it is absolutely impossible. Who is this person and why he has such profound strength is really mysterious. This breath, could it be him? The ruler Ling Longai, the ancient ruler of Yihuaheng, was also staring at the man in front of him. This video will end here.